Chad Holloway is here, and I understand you've been playing some poker lately.
I have been playing some poker, and I've been trying to do a few things. I tried to bluff this guy. He was a kind of a, like you might call a VIP, like a maniac. But you don't bluff the calling station maniacs. They're tough to do.
Well, I'm here to tell you, there are some guys you can bluff, and there are some guys you can't. Now, this is not quite a guy you can't bluff, but it's almost a guy you can't bluff. So I'm going to make a ruling right here, right now. You do not freaking bluff him. All right, not much to say. Vlog 135. This time we're at the win. Last time we ran really good here. Feel very comfortable here. Let's hope it translates to a winning session today. I show up at around noon and walk into the poker room where there are already 5 2-5 games going on, as the town is infested with grinders for the WSOP. I buy in for 1,000, grabbing the 7 seat. First hand comes when I 3-bet jack to 30 and get 3 callers to a queen high 2-spade flop. I make a small c-bet and end up folding to a small blind check raise. It ends up being a $1,200 pot that a guy wins with king deuce suited. I decided not to complain that he was out here cracking jacks. Then we get 3 limps and the button, maybe steaming from losing that last hand, makes it 25. I pick up queen jack of diamonds in the small blind, and probably should have 3-bet, but I decided to just call. That invites everybody else in. So with 150 in, the flop comes queen 9-6 2 spades with 1 club. I check and so does everyone else. Turns the 9 of clubs. I bet out for 45 here with top pair, and the big blind on my immediate left is my only caller. So with 240 in, the river is the 6 of clubs. I know if a weaker queen is going to call me, I'm going to have to bet small here. So I just put in 55. He doesn't think long before putting in 100 more. He could be bluffing, but there are obviously a lot of flushes and full houses he could have here, so I think it becomes a pretty easy bet fold situation, which is what I decide to do. I then finally get on the scoreboard when I pick up 2 queens, getting a river fold on an ace-ace jack 7-3 board. I then hear the voice of Reno Grinder, who made a cameo, as he's down here firing tourneys left and right during the WSOP. And after that, I kind of just get blown off pocket 9s in a lousy spot where I could have easily been good on a 6-high board, but it just didn't feel like it was the best spot. That was really the theme of the first few hours of the day, as I just kept getting in marginal spots with medium strength hands. And often, as in this case, they were against guys who were clearly good players, clearly grinders in town for the World Series. And I don't want to go broke against those guys with weak hands, that's for sure. Then after an hour of not winning a hand, we get a limp in middle position. And I pick up the premium holding of 3-4 of diamonds in the hijack and make it 20. With 60 in, 2 guys come to the flop with me, and it's a flop that I like. Jack 5-7, 2 diamonds. Check to me, and I bet 40. Only the guy in middle position calls here. With 140 in, the turn's the king of diamonds. He checks. I think he probably just has a jack here. I decide to size down to keep him in there with my flush, just betting 40. He calls. So with 220 in, the river's an offsuit 8, and again he checks. I decide to bet 85 here, and he thinks about it for about 30 seconds and settles on a fold. Seems very likely that he did indeed just have the jack. Then I flop top pair with a jack kicker, but finish in second place in a 3-way pot when one guy went runner full house on me. Fortunately, he forgot to bet once he got there, and I didn't oblige him. So after the first 3 hours, all I'd managed to do is find myself stuck $100. I then pick up ace-king at a straddled pot with 3 guys calling the 10. I make it 60 and get 4 callers. I lost the pot, but it was an indicator that the game might be loosening up. I certainly had to hope. Also, if you want to bet on horses but don't want to go to a sports book or look at a real horse, turns out the win has you covered. For the next 2 hours, it was nothing but missing flops and folding hands, basically death by 1,000 cuts. A very frustrating stretch. A look around revealed that the other games were full of grinders with backpacks like my game was. So factoring that in, and the fact that I had a losing image, I decide to fight another day. I rack up and book the loss before the sun even sets. Kind of a cool sunset that I figured I'd include as I wrap up this session here at Wynn. And what a brutal session it was. A $498 loss. Obviously, it could have been worse. I certainly can't say that it was the worst I've run, but in terms of being card dead, that's about as bad as it gets for a session that lasted about 6 hours. Just no hands. And the few that I got, I didn't get any action on. And sometimes that happens. The lineups were not great either. And the thing that I can't help but think is that year that I came down here, right after the World Series of Poker ended, and I had one of the best trips ever, yes, that was partially due to Run Good, but there's something to it, to coming down here after the WSOP when all the grinders have left, and even the ones that live here are probably taking some time off. And the players that are left are usually recreational. There is something to that, and I think in future years, that's what you're going to see me do a lot more of, is come here after the World Series of Poker, not during it. This time it's not a normal year because it's happening in October, and this is the time that I was able to get down here due to childcare issues. But man, games have not been great. Obviously, I had a lot more big hands on the previous vlog than I did on this one, but still, neither game was particularly off the chains. Let's just say that. So I'm going to make the guarantee that the next vlog will feature a hell of a lot more interesting hands and better action than this one did. All right, coming to you from outside of the town of Goldfield, Nevada, kind of a scenic edition. I always love the Joshua trees for this week's question of the week. And it comes from DTHSTK, I believe. He said, can you elaborate a bit on what you said regarding moving up from $2 no limit? Why is that rare? I figure most competent players move up in stakes all the time. Obviously, the competent players do move up in stakes. That's what you see. You go to LA, you go to Vegas, big cities, you're going to see that. And I don't know how many other cities are comparable to Reno in terms of city size and the amount of players and things like that. But all I can tell you, in 13 years of playing live poker in Reno, Nevada, I've basically never seen anybody do it. And that might be stunning to some of you. That might be obvious to some of you, but it just never occurs. And I've had success because I've been able to do what others have not been able to do. You see guys that I can tell what they're saying to themselves. There's this one guy, he's, I don't know, mid-40s. He's kind of a grinder. I used to play with him back when the game was 2-3 no limit at the Atlantis, but this guy's never tried to move up into the $5 game. He's always stayed in the $2 game. He shows up, this guy's funny. He shows up and he brings his backpack to grind 1-2 for like 8 hours. And he's got a regular day job too, but he does kind of like I do with trying to play a couple days a week. He just thinks to himself, well, maybe I can grind out an hourly if I play in the games with the worst players. Failing to realize the disadvantage he has, given how much more rake he has to pay in 1-2 relative to the size of the pots and other things like that. So you're just not seeing the young guys work their way up. And the reason for that is because of online poker in the US not being around. Because back before Black Friday in 2011, online poker served as basically a step ladder to working your way up in stakes. The smaller games, there were just incremental steps you could take up. And now, that really doesn't exist to the degree that it used to. So that's also played a role in why you just don't see guys work their way up in stakes. Hey, if you want to work on your poker game, consider signing up for Crush Live Poker. It's been one of the things that has helped me the most over the years, learning how to make thin value bets and things like that. And you can get 25% off a basic or premium subscription to CLP for life by using the promo code BenDeach. That's crushlivepoker.com. And finally, you knew it would happen eventually. I used up a huge amount of run good, given the fact that it happened right when I got back to Reno at the Peppermill, a casino that takes a jackpot tax as opposed to the ones in Vegas that don't. Now, I still like that better in Vegas as a guy who wins a lot of small pots, but in this case, you obviously want the bonus system in place. I was not vlogging that day, but I called a $15 open with King Jack of Hearts, and the flop came slightly above average. Ace, Queen, 10, all hearts. I check the flop, and neither of my opponents bet. The turn paired the 10, and the player on my right bet 25. I smooth call, as does the button. The river is the king of spades, bringing in an obvious one-liner. I opted to bet 125 because I think if either one of these guys, knowing how they play, has a full house or Broadway, they're not going to fold. Amazingly, they both snap fold. So an unfortunate time for neither one of them to have much of anything. I have to settle for a small pot, but I do get the $500 in bonus money with the Royal Flush. Of course, that's not money that I actually won the way I see it. That's just money that the house is giving back to me in the tax that I already paid. Either way, in my 14th year of live poker, finally getting a Royal Flush felt pretty damn good. And even though it was a small pot, it led to quite a profitable day after that. Hit the like button and make sure to subscribe so in another 13 years, maybe we can have another one of these. All right, checking in with Chad Holloway once again from Poker News. I'm sure that there were some fans, there are some people that have not seen The Departed, didn't get the joke earlier, but
it's a great movie.
That sucks for them. But I just wanted to ask you what the experience has been like for you this year, because we never had the World Series of Poker in the fall before, and that's when you're getting a chance to cover it this time for the first time. So what's any different than in previous years?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of the weather. Obviously, it's a little cooler. It's not like walking out into an oven every time you walk into the Rio. Football's going on, and sports add a whole new element to the poker world. There's a lot of overlap, and I'm a huge Miami Dolphins fan. They were in Vegas playing the Raiders. They lost in overtime, but it was a great game. So it's just fun. Sundays are something to look forward to right now, and the World Series itself is so far so good. The numbers have been impressive. The reunion hit its $5 million guarantee, which a lot of people were wondering about. So, yeah, I mean, by all intents and purposes, it's going well.
Is there any events, like one particular event that you're kind of looking forward to the most when it comes to covering outside of course, the main event?
Well, we're actually at the Win. I know you love it here. You play a lot. And Poker News will be doing some coverage, and they're doing their mystery bounty again, which they did in July. Awesome event where the players draw a random envelope that can have anywhere from like $500 up to $100,000 or something like that. And so that event is a lot of fun because it provides for a lot of video moments, viral moments, and Poker News will be here to cover it, and so definitely looking forward to that one.
And what would you say to players that are like hesitant to come out here and play in these World Series events with the lines, needing the clear app taken care of and all that? Has it been, a nightmare in terms of waiting to get in, or what's that been like?
It was definitely rough in the first few days, but I pass the lines every single day. Our office is right there, and I've noticed day by day they get shorter and shorter, and that's because once you get in the system, once you prove the vaccine with the Clear app, it's a lot easier. You don't have to go through that again, and so the more people that get through that here in the early goings will make it easier in the rest of the World Series. So it's one of those, it's not that bad, and if you plan accordingly, i.e. register the night before, register online, things like that, it's pretty smooth.
He's always great to this blog. Follow him on Twitter for updates with regards to these tournaments at the address on your screen, and see you next time.